Hi there. Welcome to Gabe's Healing Kitchen, where we get to the root of your greatest health need and ignite your inner capacity to self-heal disease. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Gabriel. You can call me Coach Gabe if you like, here at Elevated Wellness. I created my private practice, Elevated Wellness, from scratch, representing 15 years of health science education in a few key areas: exercise, sport and exercise nutrition, mind, body, and functional medicine and clinical nutrition. In addition to the all-important discipline that I always say is the most important of everything I've covered in 15 years, change psychology, which shows us a smart way to change healthy behaviors, in addition to a smart way to academically learn in the classroom. I actually applied this in my On Your Way to an A academic tutoring business that I delivered in families' homes to help struggling students with their academic learning this past year. So having a unique vantage point, I'm able to see some things a bit differently than your average health professional. Since I covered more areas that I mapped out in my own academic journey on my own, without the benefit of a counselor. Because I really wanted to be able to be a part of bigger change out in the community on a larger scale. So, I want to take a moment to share just a bit about what my Bridging the Worlds of Wellness, Elevated Wellness vision is all about, in the effort of creating cohesive communities, one committed community at a time. As I see it, there are many worlds, as I call them, or industries that make up what we call health. So worlds of wellness, picture, if you will, academia or education industry over here. And we have fitness, we have dietetics and nutrition. And we have clinical practice over here where we go to doctors, and we have what I refer to as fancy facilities, clinics, hospitals, so forth, where we get diagnosed for disease conditions. And my personal focus is the chronic lifestyle related ones that we can actually do something about with addressing our daily habits and behaviors. And then we also have culinary arts, or how we prepare food. And what better place for that to take place than in our own kitchen, where we actually can see what's going into the dish that we partake in. Food should be fun, right? So I love to show people how they can walk through simple food planning, purchase at the grocery store, and then come into the kitchen and let's learn a bit on how to prepare it properly so that our food and our meals really do become our medicine. Hence my term for my recipes that I provide all my clients and students with: medicinal meals. After all, shouldn't things go up for the better on the inside? What doctors look at, our body composition, fat versus fat-free mass, things that fitness professionals measure, and then our overall quality of life as a whole. That's where stress comes into the picture, that we often don't open up that huge can enough, as I describe it in my marketing minute, to get that full quality of life, since stress is actually the number one most common factor in all chronic disease conditions that doctors rarely ever ask patients about. Isn't that interesting? Next time you go for an office visit at your doctor, you may ask them, "I'm curious, why is it that you've never asked me a question about my life stress? Does that not play a pivotal role in my health status?" Now, I'd like to walk you through just a moment something that's very important. I feel like there's a strong disconnect between clinical practice when we go to a doctor for an office visit. We get a diagnosis and then a treatment protocol. And then we adopt a new fitness program and we're given a dietary food plan that's typically fairly strict and regimented most of the time. It's not even remotely close to the way we naturally and normally would want to eat, just doing life. That most of the time, for most folks, does not stick very long for the long haul. So my practice in building health from scratch, one puzzle piece at a time, with behavior change health coaching that I provide one-on-one, completely customized for people here in North Dallas, where I'll actually visit them in their homes and walk them through step by step the process of exactly what to do to build their health back, regardless of whatever diagnosis, health history, clinical signs and symptoms that they present to me. So we need to understand, if we have a global epidemic or national epidemic here of $1 billion, if not more, healthcare crisis, as it's called, with a direct, significant financial tie to it. We need to, as a whole society, all of us, we need to understand, how did we get here? I'm unsure if the average clinical professional really walks people through that thought process. And as an educator with many science disciplines that I've covered, spanning 15 years, that I'm able to critically think about it, and I'm, an inquisitive, curious kind of person myself, that I ask these simple questions. And so how do we get back to general health if we don't know how we first got to disease? So I like to explain it in simple, plain English. And after 2 years of one of the top masters in functional medicine clinical nutrition from the University of Bridgeport, a very rigorous program with 250 hours of hands-on clinical practice with real cases, I'm able to see that we go from pathophysiology, disease, back to normal human physiology, or our normal function, in all the different systems in our brain and body. Make sense? So we need to reverse the process. And I share with adults a lot of the time, those who are 40 and up, that they get scared by their doctor with, serious, scary diagnosis and the language that's used. And medical practice oftentimes does not do a great job of conveying how we got there. What does this actually mean? Sure, we know how to use the fancy medical terminology and give the diagnoses and the treatment plans. But we, as a people, we the people of the United States of America and the world globally as a whole, we all need to understand systematically this system approach of step-by-step how our lives changed in the inner health, lab test, signs and symptoms, diagnosis, what doctors spend their time looking at. We need to understand how to connect that with our fitness, how we move, our eating, our relationship with food, all the little nuances and details of that make up our relationship with our food, otherwise known as food behavior, which is the primary emphasis that I focus on. There is a psychology to eating, by the way, and eating is very emotional. This is the number one reason why all diets break at some point, and I personally believe that there's no point in me, you, anyone else beginning to eat or exercise in any way that we know good and well we're not going to be able to sustain, whether it's cost that gets in the way, or we're not going to be willing or want to sustain that way of doing it. So in a nutshell, I wanted to paint this picture and how I walk people through what I refer to as my What Matters Most methodology, or coaching counseling approach, providing nutritional counseling with a functional medicine focus, a building health approach, and a habit-based emphasis. So I take my Precision Nutrition World-Class Sport and Exercise certification. By the way, they're the ones who teach the top fitness pros how to coach people, even work with professional Olympians and professional athletic sport teams, such as the New England Patriots, hockey teams, franchises like the Toronto Maple Leafs. We have surfers, golfers, swimmers, you name it, MMA, martial art fighters, all kinds of professional athletes utilize them. And so I take that background plus the functional medicine, and there really is a need to peel the onion back and take a deeper, closer look at some of these key areas, including the often neglected stress. So I coach people primarily in food behavior and what I call slowing stress. And so I arm people with the knowledge, skills, and ability to not only get healthy once or to sustain it for a little while. If you're like me, that's just not good enough. Because I realized, even more so the last few years, that it really makes no difference what expert gives you what I call perfect protocol, or what to change. Clinical research does a great job of throwing all this information and science at you, but how many of us really can comprehend and turn those complex concepts on health and disease into simple, doable change? We need more people who can show others, paying it forward, how that actually can become a reality and fit seamlessly into the very fabric of your life. After all, aren't we all in this together? We're all human, and we all must take moments, as I like to say, to address these things that make us human, more alike than different. So 3 primary categories: food, our relationship with eating; movement, that's exercise, how we move through daily life; and then how we cope with or slow life stress, which I look at stress as, after food and fitness, thoughts, our thought processes; words, or our language, or how we communicate; and then emotional intelligence. And I really enjoy talking about emotional intelligence when I get around brain and behavioral scientists, educators, whether it be K through 12 or higher ed, and various therapeutic professionals, chiropractic, acupuncturists, massage therapists, on, child and clinical psychologists, Ayurveda and Chinese medicine specialists. All these people are a part of my elevated wellness vision. In the future, I'll be creating a behavioral health education course that targets specific lessons that break it down in simple, plain, easy to understand language for people. All these sciences, they have their own language, and we need to understand how we can convey it in easy to understand language. We all come from a different cultural background. We have different economic statuses and lifestyle, occupational situations. And a key area where I've decided to pinpoint and focus on significantly, and through my own life and work experiences, 15 years hands-on serving the beautiful people of North Dallas in food service, alongside many of you blue-collar restaurant and grocery industry workers. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, right? But it's a rewarding job. Some might not agree. But after getting out of it after 15 years, I personally make it my mission to help those blue-collar workers who are often neglected and forgotten and left in the background when it comes to health conversations. To reach those who are tired of feeling trapped in a world of pain that they are unable to escape from. What world of pain is that, you might ask? Physical pain. I've suffered through chronic nerve pain for over 15 years. Pounding hard floors does a number on your feet, your ankles, your nerves leading up your leg, your joints such as your knee, hip, and shoulder. So I can relate to the chronic aches and pains that your adults and older adults, our parents and grandparents, experience. I even work with older adults in aging gracefully, peacefully, and pain-free. I wanted to be able to deliver something to various populations. So, I want to wrap up by sharing that I'm working with struggling students with my fresh hot off the stove ABCD functional academic counseling that I provide for struggling students in overcoming complex learning challenges, otherwise referred to as learning disabilities such as ADHD and autism, that are more commonplace than ever before. And I don't really see more than a company or two here and there that are helping these students in the world of education and conventional classrooms. So it hit me one day. Why not show people how to build their health back with these healthy habits and behaviors that are always talked about? Nutrition, strategic exercises, physical ones, and brain exercises, stress slowing lifestyle activities that are enjoyable. And I provide my medicinal meals and what I call medicinal movements, in addition to academic skills that relate to the basic core subjects that, if you're a parent, that your child is learning in the classroom every day. Sadly, there's a lack of an understanding among parents, teachers, and counselors in the academic world that the desire to have academic performance with good grades in the classroom that's all good. But if we only address that one component, we're missing the bigger picture. So there's a behavioral, a cognitive, and a developmental component to what we do daily. And so this not only affects your child in the classroom, academic performance, but it transcends the classroom. It goes with them. And so, wouldn't you rather have the peace of mind knowing that you're building a solid foundation under your child to not only have a love for learning that lasts a lifetime, but in addition, building a solid foundation for health, optimum function, mental, emotional, and social as a whole, so that they can be the very best that they were created to be every single day. And this actually is more doable than you might think. I'm very good at pinpointing the one best change that'll benefit you greatest. Bridging these worlds, connecting these dots, and bringing it to the struggling student. So, I want to thank you for taking a moment out of your busy day to allow me to share some insight that could potentially have a positive impact on your daily quality of life. I also wanted to share personally, I can relate to these struggling students, what it's like to sift through information overload while also dealing with some chronic physical pains and the stress of academic learning while dealing with those health concerns. I also lost my father earlier this year, but I'm honored to say that he was the kind of man who was always there by my side. He taught me wisdom, life principles, values that I can carry with me forever. These are things that sadly are not taught to young kids today. And I feel like if we focus solely on academics, but we neglect these other key principles of life, that we're not creating a more cohesive society starting at a very young age before these habits are developed. So nevertheless, my father was someone who, as he would say, was in the trenches with me, coached and counseled me through so many tough life situations, how to handle difficult situations with people in the workplace. And I know what it's like to have a multitasking mom and a dedicated dad. So if you're one of those two and you desire to help your child develop into the kind of mature adolescent and eventual adult who will make you proud and go out into the world and make a difference, knowing that we need to have our health in order to go be of help to anybody else. When we're our best, then we can go be our best for somebody else. That's the bottom line. So thanks so much for allowing me to share that with you. My Elevated Wellness, Bridging the Worlds of Wellness vision, and the one-on-one services that I'm providing in behavioral health coaching and functional medicine nutrition in families' homes within 10 to 15 miles here in North Dallas of my Frisco home office. Until next time. Think innovation. be continuously creative and do whatever it takes to make a difference.